Mic on. Aha. Good morning, everybody. Quick question. Why are Charlie Kirk and Jordan Peterson debating children? I can't feel my face when I'm with you. Morning, Beck. This is Justice's Waiting Room. This is a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I am your host. My name is Jared. If you desperately have to follow me elsewhere, don't. I'm just kidding. Here is my name spelled out. Yeah, live at the convention center. Right. Am I making noise? No. Muted. Muted. Live. Analytics. You know how I know I got them tilted already? You know how I know I got them tilted already? All I said was, why are Charlie Kirk and Jordan Peterson debating children? And TikTok's like, we had to remove some comments from your comment section. Like, we were just getting going. You know what I mean? I got a second notification. Some comments in your comment section had to be removed. Tilt on the way in the door. Thank you very much. You're welcome. That's hilarious. I'm gonna say it again. Why the fuck are Charlie Kirk and Jordan Peterson on camera debating little kids? What the fuck is wrong with you people? No? It was way funnier in my head. Is that what we're really saying? Okay. 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 Yeah. I woke up I woke up today and decided that I'm taking tomorrow off. I just want to make sure we talk about this. So they're threatening to absolutely cripple social safety nets. Okay? Right? We're trying to absolutely cripple social safety nets. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is pardoning reality show couple Todd and Judy Chrisley, who could not be uglier, bro. Um, so there's that. Remember Whiskey Leaks? Remember him? Oops. Oops. And remember, one of the things that we've noticed about Donald J. Trump is that he's not helping you. You fuck up, oops, that's you. So here's Pete Hegseth hit with stunning illegal wiretap allegations. You know, I'm gonna keep saying it because it's a massive problem in the U.S. military. It's also a problem with, um, I don't know what you call them, but it's like your police and fire. Alcohol is poison. I don't know what the fuck. I stopped drinking. I was a bartender. Do you get it? Now, that isn't to say that it isn't okay to have an adult beverage every now and then. Everything within reason, right? It's all about balance. But I think that Secretary of Defense in the United States should not be a raging alcoholic. Just going to throw that out there. That maybe if we dealt with the big problems, and this little statement by a little Jasmine Crockett, this needs a little more juice. This needs a little more juice. Okay? Here's what the Democrats, if they want to win the election, they want to win midterms. Somebody needs to tell the Democrats. Here's what matters. There is a report, Executive Order 13848, due from every state regarding the 2024 US election. The public demands to know the results of that report, and I want the Democrats on a stage, in addition to pitching every progressive policy you can talk about, because progressive policy wins elections. And I want them to say, and we're going to get to the bottom of what happened in the 2024 US election, and we're going to protect elections or the future. And as Donald Trump and Elon Musk split up, okay, as Donald Trump and Elon Musk split up, my confidence in the strength of US elections increases. Like I'm more confident that after the 2024 US election, Elon Musk basically got shut the fuck out worldwide. Nobody want to do business with you. Tesla sales are collapsing in Europe. Okay. I got two neighbors on my way to get groceries that own Teslas, and the last two times I've gone to get groceries, now, if it's just luck, and these people whose Teslas I've seen for years, they're not there no more. So I'm telling you, they went from the coolest thing ever to absolutely unapologetically unpopular. And so I'm trying to counter Elon Musk's message where he's like, we didn't do anything wrong. We are being terrorized. And it's like, no, you gave schmatzy schmaloots on a stage right after an election you helped bake. And again, I'm saying if the Democrats want to win at midterms, I got to know. I want to know what happened with the results of the 2024 US election nationwide. You mean to tell me that's how motherfucking stupid we are here? We're so motherfucking dumb that Donald Trump tried to commit an insurrection, and I'm gonna keep saying it because it's true. Do you know one of the reasons? And this will make you slap yourself in the head like, are we fucking kidding? One of the reasons that they have failed to punish Donald Trump for January 6th, and I know you're going to clutch your fucking pearls, one of the reasons they failed to prosecute him is because he was in power. That's fucking right. You mean to tell me, and again, I know there's some people be like, what? Donald Trump was still the president when January 6th, 2021 happened. Power hadn't changed hands. He committed an insurrection against himself. There's a reason that against the government he was in control of. That's one of the reasons that they're like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Like he lost, but he was still in power. That was his administration that he ordered his people to attack. Hang Mike Pence, anyone? So part of the reason that the legal system hasn't punished is because they've done plenty of punishing themselves. Let's be realistic about this. I know that people are watching Donald Trump enrich himself while he's in office, and it's just like, and who do you think he's making that money for? Him? Or do you think maybe he owes somebody some money? And maybe there's a reason why, maybe there's a reason why Russia is threatening World War III on social media, and people close to the Kremlin and close to Vladimir Putin are literally threatening World War III. Could it be because could it be because the worst people in the world that are also our oppressors are just they're just awful. They're and stupid and incredibly stupid. So not only are they awful people, but they're just dumb, just immeasurably fucking dumb. Hmm. Well, remember one of the things that we've said, hey Tina, one of the things we've said all along is people were saying in the United States that nothing will happen because we don't protest here every single day. And the thing about it is that it took some organizing, took some putting some stuff together. But for all those people that said like Americans got other shit going on and they won't protest, it's like, I mean, can I introduce you to the May Day movement? Can I show you that, hey, here's daily protest Washington, D.C. Well attended, by the way. Okay. Now I understand like the calls are gonna get louder, right? But Jasmine Crockett saying the Democrats will investigate Trump if they reclaim the House in the midterms. It should be we will investigate the results of the 2024 U.S. elections. Yeah. I have been on many protests. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. And then remember, shock and awe, right? Oh, I was saying that yeah, the when this administration first came into power, a lot of people were like, nothing will happen to Donald Trump because Americans don't protest en masse. We don't protest every day. And I said, well, actually, that just takes time to organize. And now there's daily protest. Here's the May Day movement. They protest every single day in Washington, D.C. for a different reason. Organized protest, right? That's what we were waiting for. That's what we really needed, right? Um, is daily protest. Now, one of the problems that I have is that I'm cognizant that most Americans don't have the money to travel to Washington, D.C. to protest. That's a cold $1,000 for most Americans, plus, depending on how long you're going to go. Okay. So for everybody saying like drop everything and go to DC to protest, that's not, nope. There are lots of people in the area. Millions of people live in the DC area. They can more than protest in DC with the numbers there locally. Now, the next major protest, what up, Crush? Next major protest in my eyes is June 14th. Zeke asked, Jay, do you think Jasmine should not have said that? No, I think she needs to be more clear. I think it needed to be more along the lines of if we win the midterms, we are going to investigate the 2024 US election. That's all I need to know. Like, hey, if something hasn't been setting right with you, vote for a Democrat and hey, we'll investigate it and we'll report the truth, right? But the bottom line, until somebody starts asking AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Bernie, Murphy, any of these people. Hey, whatever happened to Executive Order 13848 and all of those investigations on the 2024 US election? An all clear was not given. The president and vice president raced back to the White House. I'm talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, raced back to the White House to be together in the Oval Office when they reviewed those reports when they were due. No all clear was given. Now, one of the things that I will point out is that Donald Trump has been stonewalled so far that since he's been in office, literally everything that man does is getting heavily scrutinized, and he ain't getting away with a goddamn thing, just as we expected. Hmm. Just as I've been saying all along. Somebody said just read another SpaceX spinning out of control. That actually happened yesterday. So for those of you that didn't know, I'm a former Purdue flight student, and I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a little kid. And then I grew 2 inches outside of high school, and I was already 6'2". So can't be a fucking astronaut when you can't fit in the space shuttle. So I've always had a big interest in flight. And one of the things that I want to point out about SpaceX is that they've now had 3 shuttle crashes in a 6-month window. Hey, not that y'all give a shit about this, but SpaceX should be grounded for a long time. First of all, those disasters are super pollutive. And I don't know if that's a word, but they pollute the hell out of our atmosphere, and they also pollute whatever body of water they're probably landing in. Okay. So again, I just think that they should ground SpaceX and that they shouldn't be allowed to launch spacecraft because they're now 0 for their last like 3 that I can think of. But yeah, I'm not interested in election interference. I'm interested in election fraud. And I want the Democrats. I think that's part of the reason they don't talk about it is because there's rules. And maybe there's just rules we didn't see. Um, hmm, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just want to point out if you've seen where Elon Musk has built his businesses, the neighbors have no water pressure anymore and their water's polluted. Same thing with Meta. I mean, there's a reason we sat here and said, listen, if we want to defeat fascism at this point, we have to start with delete Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter, and Amazon from your devices. It starts there. It starts with stop giving your oppressors all your money. Once you decide like, okay, Jared, I've stopped giving them all my money and now I want to face my oppressors, I want to protest. Okay, okay. Now I'd say now if you've done all that other stuff, delete all them programs off your phone so you don't get wrapped up in that shit. Where are you supposed to go to get your information? Well, I recommend Reddit. The reason is they have subreddits that are very uh, dense with specific topic. And I make sure I share every day, like, hey, look, here's Protest Finder USA, which is like unaffiliated, meaning they're not an org. Then there's 50501, that's an org, okay? They also have a website. Yeah, it's the problem that I have with the current regimes is that they play politics and it costs people, and I'm not about that. Right? I think we're in a war of attrition and everybody matters. Literally. And I think, like I said before, if one American dies at the hands of the government, it's a national security issue. If one American citizen dies internationally and it's at the hands of the government, it's an international security issue. I'm not interested in anything affiliated with Democrats, right? Democracy's only as good as it holds, as long as it holds, right? I'm a socialist. Means I want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. Yeah, means I'm pro equality and pro union. And more importantly, as I sort of develop as a socialist, one of the things I recognize is the danger of private equity. hmm And if you think about what's really wrong in the United States, like what's the problem? I'll tell you, if you build anything and it becomes popular, it will get purchased. And you will have ownership. You will have masters, no matter what you do. And so every entity that starts, it grows. Every business that starts grows. And eventually you have options. You could, with no additional capital probably falter and die, which is typically what happens in a business cycle. Is you start out super strong and then you tend to take a big dip if you don't have the financial injection to like drastically increase your acquisition of the materials it takes to create your product, and then that cash flow that you pulled in that helps you buy everything on the cheap, you also then got to turn that over, right? So it's about timing and all that shit. So there's a reason why lots of people that are capitalists have no morals. And it's because they don't care where they get their money from. So if you wonder what the fuck is wrong right now, it's that the president of the United States couldn't get anyone to lend to him because he's a massive failure, and nobody likes Donald Trump, nor his ilk, nor anyone that he fucks with. None of those people are like cool. You ever notice that Donald Trump has no savior? There's no one that like he thought it was Elon. Elon Musk is not cool. And he's realizing that he's also not smart. He said Doge was going to make all these cuts and shit. And what'd they do? They killed his voter base. That's what Elon Musk did. You got to remember, Elon Musk is a tech bro. So his like crowd of people are like, well, young boys under the age of 25, apparently. 26. Doge. Those people that don't have a background in politics, policy, data, and analytics, these are just programmers. When they go in and they are looking at a business's line items, they don't see Medicare, Medicaid equals millions of people, SNAP equals millions of people. They don't see that. They see, is it profitable or is it an expense? And again, I'm not making an excuse for them. There's absolutely no fucking excuse to raid social safety nets to line the pockets of billionaires. All I'm saying is they do exactly what happens when you build something and someone buys it from you and now they own it and they don't give a fuck what that company was built on. They give a fuck about money and what you had looked like it was profitable, and they have they do not absolutely give a shit how they make more money. But when they buy your shit, it's with the purpose of making more money. They ain't buying it to collapse it. That very rarely happens. Okay, they're buying it because they think you got something worth buying. Um, hey, that's good. Angie, the Republican Party's in disarray. But see, remember, part of the reason that there are Republicans that want more deeper cuts is because they know that if they don't unalive a whole bunch of people, either you're gonna never win an election again, or they're gonna ruin your life. And I'm trying not to get banned on TikTok when I say it. Like, the people that are at the most risk in this country have the least to lose. They're not working a job, they're on Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, they're living in Section 8. There's a reason that they're trying to say, like, we need deeper cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP, is because they want to make sure that they can't arm themselves before they do it. That's just the truth. That one of the things that I've realized is we prop up this 2A, right? Prop up 2A. But everybody lives paycheck to paycheck, so who's got the money for that shit? Real talk. Who has the money for pew pew play? You don't. You don't. And meanwhile, the powers that be, the people that are in fucking charge of you, yep, paid a single penny if it's their hope for. Yeah, exactly. Harley. So remember, that's the plan is to look at who they can harm that can't fight back, right? The disabled, the poor, the elderly, strip them of their social safety nets, and they're already probably malnourished and unable to defend themselves. So we can further pillage their land, we can pillage their property, we could militarize the police and ICE, and we could just start going house to house and looting. You want to talk about, they talk about rioters and looters and shit. One of the recurring stories that pisses me off is I keep hearing stories of ICE with no warrant breaking into someone's house or apartment, causing property damage, and then also stealing from someone that they arrest. Again, the whole goal is to make sure you're unable to defend yourself when they inevitably capitalize on you. Mostly it's because you are a danger to the status quo. Hmm. So as we say every day on the show, about any time we realize we've got anybody watching us, about 40, 50 combined in our audience this morning. So good morning, everyone. Have a fantastic day, a great rest of your week. I will be off the next 4 days. I've decided, woke up this morning and decided I'm taking tomorrow off too. Um, it doesn't happen very often in your life, and I think you gotta kind of take it as it comes. But a guy that I was friends with while I was on active duty 20 years ago is going to be in Indianapolis tomorrow through Monday. Um, and because of my financial situation, I was able to put him up in a hotel for the time that he's here. Mostly because I don't have space to share and I have a house full of animals and he would be like a new person. And it's like, nah, man, you're never sleeping in this house. I'm not putting you up here. So I put him up in a hotel downtown. I'm gonna be downtown Indianapolis most of the next 4 days at the convention center. There is the SCG Con. So I know you're already tuning me out, but I'm an actual real brother. Yeah, you better fucking believe it. Hmm. Um, so yeah, he's gonna be in town for 5 days. I put him up at a hotel. I'm gonna be downtown with him at SCG Con most of the time. Now, SCG Con isn't just Magic the Gathering, okay? No, I'll be here. Show will go on. I'm not. This ain't me saying I'm taking 4 days off the show. I'm was to fucking be here. Don't you worry about that, okay? I have made zero plans to change my schedule, so don't. This ain't me dipping. No, this is me saying like after the show every day, I'm gonna go downtown to SCG Con. Which again, it normally Star City Games is affiliated with Magic the Gathering, but here's the best part about being part of the greatest game ever made is that that crowd, the people that play Magic, they play everything. So there are other games that are going to be very popular this weekend, like Star Wars Unlimited. So if you're a Star Wars fan, there is a card game much like Magic the Gathering. There is like at a tournament and there's vendors. Also, there is another non-Magic, non-Star Wars, very popular card game called Flesh and Blood. There is also Pokemon, which is just like Magic, like old card game, right? That kids still play. Um, hell yeah. So your boy, not something that I talk about because obviously gestures generally, look what the fuck is going on in the world. Do you think I got a lot of time to think about fairies and fucking, you know what I mean, lightning bolts and shit? No. Um, yes. So, oh, I had a cough. So I muted myself so you didn't hear me coughing on my microphone. Sorry, TikTok. Somebody was like, "What happened?" Like I just had a cough. Um, but because of the prevalence of all these other card games, there is a massive convention. And if you think about it, like the end of the world is nigh. This weekend, I sold my collection, Zeke. So I feel you, brother. Um, mostly because not because I don't intend to play, because a collection is not required to be a Magic player. Like I don't need to have a collection to also play. Um, there are other means of doing that. hmm You could literally rent, you could borrow. hmm I would rather like rent or borrow. So I paid for it. It was a hole in my pocket for a long ass time, probably better part of 15 years. But that hobby was what is one of the reasons I'm here. You know, when I got, you got to understand, my life has been insane. When I say it doesn't normally happen where you get to keep all 10 fingers, all 10 toes, they give you money and let you leave the military. They don't normally do this. So when I came home and it was like being ripped away from something that you loved, most people I think just drink themselves to death right there. I had been through quite a bit of trauma. My world had been turned upside down. I finally am free of it. I have plenty of money. I think most people just like fucking brown out or whatever the fuck you call it. Okay. But long story short, what I realized was the sort of lifestyle I was living, the just partying, drinking, sleeping in late, not really doing dick all during the day. It's not sustainable. You can't, you gotta like work and shit, right? You gotta like work a day job. You gotta like be at your day job all day, not smelling like booze, right? In order to get fucking paid, right? To pay your bills. And if it hadn't been for Magic, I don't know what would have happened, man. Because I was literally, if it hadn't been for Magic the Gathering, I was planning on drinking pretty heavy on that Christmas. That was the like the holiday season right after I came home from the Marine Corps. You know, lots of people have lots of problems when they separate from the military. Um, we call it acclimatization. You acclimatize to the military, and then you have to acclimate uh, to the civilian world when you get out. And one night I went for a drive. And to think back on it, the more vividly that I remember it, I had left my house. I had driven away from my apartment. It was snowing. The roads were bad, and I was gonna go downtown Indianapolis, and I was gonna go to a little. There, they used to have this bar called the One Eye or Red Eye Cafe across the street from the clubs. So there's like Tiki Bob's and shit. That's on that side of the street, and on this side of the street was Red Eye Cafe. And what it was good for was people watching. And so what I would do is if I wasn't feeling particularly social, is I would go to Red Eye and naturally, you want to sit at the bar and drink, but the bar faces away from the street. And so when you turn around and you look at all the seating sits so you could people watch. And so what I would do is I'd bring my laptop. grab a couple beers at the bar, and then take my laptop over to a table and play poker on the internet while I watch these idiots uh, dick around downtown. And that night, now that I think about it, terrible idea. Terrible idea. Because it was snowing and the roads were bad, and I was driving downtown to drink and then go drive myself back home. Now, most people are like, so what? I never really liked like the whole driving part of drinking. That's kind of one of the reasons I don't do it. Is because drinking and driving is like wildly dangerous, you crazy motherfuckers, right? Fortunately, your boy, I'd rather dive in someone's car than drive myself when I'm drunk, right? So fortunately for me, when I turned off of 267 onto US 40 going eastbound in Plainfield at like 7 o'clock at night on a Friday night, there was a whole gaggle of people crossing the road in front of me that had to park in a Walmart parking lot because all of the parking was full at this little strip on the left side of the road. And curiosity killed the cat. Like, that's just how I work, right? So I slam on my brakes because these people are like an entire gaggle of folk just like cross the road in front of me. And I'm like, whoa. And this is a 4 lane divided highway. This ain't like a street in your town. This is a highway. And I'm talking like 50 people cross the street in front of you. It's like a sign you can't miss, right? And so I turned in front of them into the little strip as the pizza delivery guy from the pizza shop next door backs out of the spot. And I'm telling you, I slid. My car just slid into that spot. Like I couldn't even stop. It was like it was a tractor beam, right? Like from Star Wars. I was like, what? I can't even stop my car. And like it did stop before I hit my little Scion into the concrete stop. But even when I got out of my car, a guy that I ended up being friends with for years, he just started laughing. He was like, "That was pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie, that was good timing." And I was like, "Yeah, like I couldn't stop my car. Like that pizza delivery guy got out of my way, and I was like, the brakes locked up, and it just like, and fortunately, it didn't tear up my car or nothing. And so I got out and popped a cigarette, and we stood there and smoked. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I gotta be real honest with you. And I watched someone hold the door while like 50 people from that gaggle crossing the highway walked in the door of this business. I'm like, what is happening in here? Is this a seance? Are y'all about to do Ouija or some shit? What are we doing in there? And he was like, well, it's Friday Night Magic, man. And you're like, Friday Night Magic, huh? And he's like, yeah, do you play Magic? And I was like, the card game that my dad, when I was a little kid, tried to get me into, and I got into it, and he immediately hated it because I liked it. That game? And he's like, yeah, actually. And he's like, so, so you never really played? And I was like, nah, I wasn't allowed when I was in high school. I was an athlete. My the kids that were nerds were like not about me because I was an athlete. And he was like, oh, that sucks. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man. And then he was like, I had a little Marine Corps sticker from the base on my car. And he was like, were you in the Marine Corps? And I was like, yeah, I was in Marine Corps infantry. And he just looked at me like, what the fuck? You're huge. And I was like, I am. And he was just like, come on in, man. And so I went in, and the craziest part about this story, remember how I told you that when I was in high school, I was an athlete, so the nerds didn't really like me. Remember that little bit of foreshadowing? As soon as I walked into this business, I'm struggling to remember the name, which is sad, but that's part of life. AP Collectibles, that's what it was called. AP Collectibles in Plainfield, Indiana. It went out of business. He was a terrible business manager. Um, but I rounded the corner and I went into the business for the first time, and just kind of taking it all in, right? Big deep smells, a lot of card stock, a lot of plastic, a lot of rubber, right? A lot of glue, a lot of paint. You know what I mean? It's got a distinct. Card shops have very distinct smells, right? And so I'll never forget taking like a deep breath, like, Well, that's where you're supposed to be. Like, yeah, that's pretty much it. There was a stormtrooper, like a 6 foot tall stormtrooper inside the door, in case you wondered. And you're like, why is that here? That's taking up space. And the owner's just looking at me like, who's this asshole? And I was like, nice fucking stormtrooper, bro. And so out of a chair pops one of them nerds I graduated with. His name was Nathan Cashin. He also is a Purdue Boilermaker. And he ran up to me and gave me a giant ass bear hug and was like, holy shit, you made it home. And so sold, like I'm in. Stormtrooper inside the door, little nerd I couldn't connect with when I was in high school is literally like, oh my God, the hero has returned. Right? So I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm in. And he's like, you want me to teach you how to play Magic? And as soon as he said that, I was like, yes. Whatever, I'll take some. Sure, yeah. And so went and sat out and dead ass taught me how to play Magic. And he's like, you're smart, you'll figure this out. And in my brain, I'm like, oh, wasn't smart back in the day. And so like we're like playing Magic, whatever, being buddies. We were friends. We traveled the country, played Magic together. He now lives in the southwest part of the country trying to cure cancer. He's pharmacist, like a nuclear pharmacist, not your friendly neighbor. Well, I mean, he is friendly. He probably does live in a neighborhood, but he is not your friendly neighborhood pharmacist. He's that kind of smart. You know what I'm talking about? Nuclear pharmacist. Yes. So, and better story gets better. You don't think good people get rewarded and smart people don't get rewarded and like cool people don't get rewarded. Oh, baby girl. So, this was like November timeframe. February, I'm talking like not 90 days later. Uh, I'm playing in States, which I think 2008 States was the last one. Somebody that cares way more about this can correct me down the road, but we played in States in 2008. Now, listen, your boy, not 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 a Magic player. Like like that's not what I am, right? Like I wasn't that. Um, but Nathan Cashin, with the help of your boy, I helped him play test for that tournament. I played all the other decks. He top eighted states, and then from what I remember, again, the memories are fuzzy. But if I remember correctly, like three of the people that finished in front of him couldn't accept the invite to Worlds. So again, because he's awesome and like a good friend of mine, he got to qualify for Worlds after he did really good in a tournament, not good enough to like get the invite naturally because the people in front of him couldn't even accept the invite. So in 2008, he and I went to Memphis, Tennessee. So there's a reason why I'm like, I actually like Memphis because when we went there, I still had some money. And so we got to eat nice and play Magic for the weekend and see all the professional Magic players in the world and meet the guy that designed the game. And it was an incredible time. And then they stopped that event, the States event qualifying for Worlds. Um, and competitive Magic, in my eyes, kind of has had a rough patch. It used to be on ESPN. Magic the Gathering literally was more liked than chess. Now, I'm not saying that it's more liked than chess now, but look, there's 7, 8 billion people here, dog. But Magic the Gathering over the years has changed a ton. Obviously, there weren't a lot of references to outside source material for a long time. Magic was proprietary. So all of the Magic cards, all of the characters are like contained in Magic's universe. Well, they've done UB, Universes Beyond. So if you're going to go and look at Magic the Gathering now, it looks a lot different than it used to look. Now it's Marvel is attack. It's like it's been Fortnited, which again, that's not a bad thing to me. I fucking care about Star Wars. I care about Marvel, right? So they've made a Marvel set. They're making a Final Fantasy set and it looks insane, right? Cloud is incredible. But yeah, I'm a Final Fantasy fan, right? Yes. Yes. Elon Musk and Donald Trump have been having a breakup for a while, cease. Hmm. Remember about 6 weeks ago when we were talking about Elon Musk has officially moved out of the White House? Know about Cloud. Yeah, I've played every Final Fantasy. Yeah. Hmm. The only one I haven't like beaten are the MMOs, 11 and what is it, 11 and 14? But yeah, I beat all the other Final Fantasy games. Very best at what they do. Hmm. I was a PlayStation kid. They're afraid of the Republicans. Yeah. They're afraid of Melonia. M- Elonia, sorry. Combining forces here. Stay away from MMOs. See, I don't know how I feel about that, man. MMOs are the best, actually. I like it when because most MMOs you can play single player. You don't have to engage with other people or work in groups and shit. And there are instances where you'd want to do that and shit, but on the whole, every MMO I've ever gotten into, World of Warcraft, Star Wars, SWTOR, um, you could play through the content solo. Like massively multiplayer, it just means many people are on the same server playing at the same time. You don't actually have to like do it. You could just play the game. Like I played a character all the way through the Star Wars, the SWTOR without playing any group instance. Yeah, yeah. You talking about Jasmine Crockett said she'll investigate Trump. Yeah, we that was the first thing we talked about this morning. Hmm. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite videos here recently. Here's a guy getting kicked out of a concert for wearing an SS t-shirt, as he should. Hey, and I kind of feel like it goes without saying, hey, uh, AOC is not worth millions of dollars. Here's Business Insider did a look at her finances. Okay. And also, you know how mainstream media is constantly talking about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Here's an article from the New Republic I saw earlier where those here's repeatedly Donald Trump being incoherent in rants. I would just like for the Republicans to admit this. Hmm. And then people are here's Esquire saying that that speech at West Point shows you. CC asked, why do they think AOC is worth millions? Because she's a pretty woman. Clearly, she must be being paid to be woke. Also, she's pretty. So clearly, she's being paid millions to be. Why do you think I'm here every day? That speech was fucking terrible. I had to watch it in groups. I couldn't actually watch the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. Smart and pretty. Hmm. She must be getting paid. That's the reason I'm here every day, right? Is because all of the money that I make. Hmm. One day it'll happen. That's how he got all his followers, is he conned them into paying him. I mean, I'm not saying I'm smart and pretty. I'm just saying. I'm saying that with AOC, she must be a shill, right? She has to be being paid. Where are her owners, right? Very slave mentality here, right? Like get back in line, AOC. Either that or you have owners, you have handlers, right? By the way, if you have handlers, you're unfit to serve. Holy fuck. Oh, I know a lot of people are upset Donald Trump's threatening to defund NPR, right? Well, here's their lawsuit. Oh shit. I just want to make sure everybody knows The Apprentice is the biggest loser. And it's gonna take you a while to understand that those are two different TV shows, okay? So I'm talking about Donnie Boy. I'm saying like The Apprentice is the fucking biggest loser. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody knows all these executive orders and presidential orders that he like comes out with his stupid signature and Sharpie, illegal. Hmm. Most night like 90% of the, and then he's losing. He's losing like every day. You know who's really in charge in this bitch? Mark Elias and his law firm. That's who runs this country. Hmm. Donald Trump, Donald Trump and his cadre of his cacophony of, I can't even think of the word. It's the fucking island of misfit toys. You know what I mean? Honestly, the way some of these people speak, I'm surprised there's not like a wind up mechanism sticking out of their back. Like they're just like pre-programmed for that. Like have you ever heard um Hegseth? Like holy shit, when he speaks, I'm like, is that like part of the source programming code? Like that's like baked in your brain, and like every time you open your gullet, that's what comes out. I'd be a hardcore alcoholic too if that stupid shit came rolling out of my mouth. You fucking morons. Yeah, me too. B-roll bad guys. Bob. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it sucks to be ruled by people that just suck, man. And then one of the things I make sure to do to keep my head on straight is look at suppressed news. Look at what they're not showing you. They're not showing you thousands of Gazans stormed the dystopian Israeli-American aid complex in West Rafah after being forced to stand in endless queues under the scorching sun inside a fenced camp subject to biometric surveillance. So I just want to make sure, okay? make sure you don't turn away. Okay, when you see the horrors that we are capable of and the things that we do to each other, don't look away. Look right at it. If you if you say I don't I'm not really a political person, this is the kind of shit that happens. Slava, Ukraine, fucking free Palestine. Okay? Make sure that you download the Five Calls app and that you call your senator and voice your displeasure. And remember never to vote for these cruel ass motherfuckers that dare cut social safety nets. And understand it, I'm not on them, right? So here I am. I'm making sure we point out this is me caping for benefits I'm not on. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to look at. Somebody said if you're alive, you have to be political. Right. Like if people that say like I'm not a political person, oh, so you're incredibly ignorant and you have absolutely nothing to add. Perfect. I know where to not spend my time, energy, money. I know who to not give my kindness to. I should not look, I should turn a blind eye to you. That's what you're saying? Oh, I'm not interested in politics. Oh, you're not interested in complex thought? You're not interested in learning, growing, adapting to your environment, possibly surviving this regime. None of that sounds like that's too political for you. Cool. Cool story. Only the weakest among us say shit like, oh, I'm not really into politics. Oh, cool. So you just like being oppressed? You like seeing the government plan and plot to take social safety nets away from the disabled and elderly and poor. You understand that they're not taking from them to give to you, right? If there were ever a time to realize, I went to like a veterans protest a couple months ago. March 14th, actually. 314, 14-3. Most of the people that were there were disabled. In fact, the protest before that and after that, I noticed same crowd actually. Disabled, actually largely disabled. The people that are being most directly affected by this, women, people of color, the elderly, the poor, and the disabled. People that are not people that don't look like me. I mean, I probably look disabled. And technically I am disabled. But you know what I meant. Yep. Lack of empathy. Yeah, that's what my boss told me the other day. He was like, "You're doing so good. Your numbers are so good." And he's like, I wanted you over here in this section of the company, but now I would think I'm gonna change my mind. I want you here." Okay. Why? Well, you're really good at empathizing with people. Oh, okay. So this is the Earth round. Yeah, by the way, good for all those starving Gazans for overrunning the Israeli USA food lines where they're being forced to stand in the sweltering heat for hours in order to get basic necessities. And I hate being outside in the heat. standing in fucking line. It's like when somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to go to an amusement park?" and it's like July. Fucking no. I don't want to. What? I can't even. You can't even sit on a bench. It's too hot. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there are people in when you're selling them a product that they don't want to talk about how they feel, and that actually takes them off a buy-in. And there's a way to market. So you could split your market into people you can emotionally sell to that you can show empathy and they'll buy, and people that aren't in that doesn't compute, you know. That's one of the things I have noticed. Um, if you ever wonder, like, what the fuck, there are people that are completely checked the fuck out, and like empathy doesn't work. Like you, every now and then I'll have one of those people that are like, "Are you trying to get to know me?" Yeah, I'm trying to figure out about your habits. Hmm. So I can figure out if you're like a good candidate or not. Like a good candidate for what? And I'm like, hey, one of the things I've learned in my life is not every single person I talk to is my customer. I just don't say that to them. Not everybody's my customer. Now, them numbers say something the fuck else. But great clip the other night, all the reps saying they'd never vote against social programs. Yeah. Yep. I would never vote to cut social safety nets, to take benefits away from, I hate to call them the least of us, um, the least profitable. And remember, I'm not a capitalist, I'm a socialist. Private equity is the reason minimum wage is where it is. It's the reason that we get overworked and underpaid. Hmm. So yeah, download the Five Calls app. Time to call your senators. Let them know to vote no on this bill. Don't get into the minutia. One of the things that I try to tell my audience and the people that'll let me talk to them, don't get so tied up in what the bill contains, because it's like you're gonna let this thing. It's like already bad. It's cutting social safety nets. I don't have to be told much more than that. But if you look a little deeper, not only are you probably gonna wind up misinformed, but it's not gonna change your fucking mind. So just understand that $500 million cut to Medicare, $750 million cut of Medicaid in excess, 25% reduction in the investment of the SNAP food stamps. Okay. Um, it's hard not to be downtrodden, right? And be like, man, this really sucks. It really does suck. It sucks because I know how money moves, and the budgets for 2026 are being put together now. And all these, again, I'm going to keep saying it 'cause it's just true and it's devastating. All these small and medium sized hospitals and clinics are right now putting together their fiscal budget for 2026, and that shit's due by the start of Q4, which is like October. That's what you do in Q3. How do I know this? I've run a business. I've run someone else's business. I've run my own business. And Q3 is called mapping. You are mapping next year's budget. And when you're watching the fucking government gut your funding for SNAP, for Medicare, for Medicaid, and you're a business owner, Who's going to pay for the cost difference? We're cooked. We might as well start moving our patients now. So, hey, I'm just putting it on wax. They are already moving patients. My wife works in healthcare. The damage is done. Now, there will be clinics and small to medium sized hospitals in the future. It's just one of the things you got to really hope is you got to really hope this budget don't pass and that all the cuts to social safety nets are pulled and that we're not increasing the deficit by like 4 trillion. We have to fix elections. We have to fix presidential power. The president does not have power of the purse. We got to put term limits on Supreme Court members. We have to have an enforceable code of ethics. They're not going to fucking police themselves. Why would you do that? That's the whole point of becoming like a Supreme Court justice is you are literally above, you are the law. Yep. But here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to make sure I also say. The reason I'm sad about this budget and the collapse of social safety nets, it's not because I am on them or need them or am associated or affiliated with any in any way with anyone that's on those programs. It's because a lot of people that I care about, whether or not they voted for it or not, like I think about my mom. Not only is my mom retirement age, but she takes care of my grandma, who's in her 90s. My mom works at Franklin Methodist Home, which is a small to medium size hospital and nursing home. That's a private, federally funded by Medicare, by Medicaid dollars. And I'm not thinking about like my mom and grandma. I'm thinking about all the patients that are like immobile, that are elderly, that are veterans. One of the things I keep saying, especially to like my clients, when I'm talking to someone on the phone and I realize they're elderly and they're a veteran, in my head I'm like, yeah, makes sense. Who survives out of the demographic of dumbassery, right? People with college educations, people that served in the military. I'm telling you, I work on the telephone talking to people and have for the last decade plus. They got really good at communication, like one on one. There's a many reason many of the people are this. My audience is very similar looking every day, is because people realize like I'm not fear mongering, I'm not profiting off of you in any way. I'm just trying to be realistic about what is going to happen. And as I've said, if you've got family members or friends that still live in small towns and have a small to medium sized clinic or hospital that they regularly utilize, you might want to make sure they know. It's going to get real ugly January 1st. Mhm. Yep. Whether the budget bill passes or not, those budgets for 2026 are in motion right now, and they try to present those before October 1st. Gives you 90 days to implement change. And one of the things that there's narratives around this budget bill like, oh, it's a ticking time bomb. It doesn't actually start in 2026. It starts in 2029. And it's a shadow bill and it's a ruse and it's all meant to force. It's like a Trojan horse. That's the idea. is that this budget bill is a farce. That's why I keep saying don't do so much labor, right? Don't be digging into the bill and trying to see what you can find. You're just gonna run into misinformation and get confused and be like, I don't really know what's going on because it happened to me. I'm like starting to look into the bill and I'm like, I'm running into misinformation at like every turn. I know this isn't accurate, right? It's like you have a sense of what's like true and what's not. And don't get it twisted. The bill's pretty goddamn bad. Um, but again, I want to point out like that's going to be negotiated the hell out of at the bare minimum. Negotiated the hell out of. It will not pass as is. It's going to have to be. But again, I am of the thought process. I'm sticking to my guns. The damage is done. Damage is done. It may be temporary. Things may return, but I know a lot of people that work in healthcare that are on the move that are like, I'm going to take multiple appointments at different facilities, the way I can get my hours and get my pay. So if you're a medical provider, like you'll be able to find work, no problem. Always hear dogs barking in my neighborhood. I'm like, is that my dogs? But it's not. They're in bed. I hope. Yep, damage has been done. And my hope is that millions of people wake up every day and get this thought in their head, I will never vote for a Republican ever the fuck again in my life. I'm not taking any of their candidates seriously. I'm not at all considering even voting for you. And in fact, I'm so off of this two-party system in the United States. I'm absolutely um, beside myself at the quality of political candidate in the United States. There's a reason I founded the American Socialist Party. There's a reason I'm kind of going slow. I'm trying not to turn myself into a target. But there's a reason we founded the American Socialist Party. What stage are you in? So there's an order of operations when you go to start a political party. And so there's a reason I'm kind of dawdling is because I'm looking at this regime's control of things like the FEC, right? And in order to register as a political party with the FEC, well, first of all, you've got to make sure that that's going to get processed. So what I haven't been doing is grifting. No, that's the point. Is there's 600 jobs in government, and there are 600 of the best possible candidate for that position. And I'm hoping I get on here every day, do a daily live podcast where we just discuss news and politics. Somebody wakes up. Somebody wakes up that's a longtime union rep that worked a union job that hears what I'm saying. It says, like, I'm going to repeat what he says because what he says sounds like it cares about people and that it sounds like the long-term survival of our way of life hinges on universal education, income, housing, and healthcare. And that unlike this current regime, which is anti-DEI and racist and sexist, and you get it, I'm pro DEI, pro equality, right? I'm mostly just pro union, though. In fact, spend quite a bit of time. Allie said I wrote a letter to President Biden and I got back a thank you. Oh, that's cute. So yeah, there's 600 jobs in government. Okay, the 600 best candidates aren't running because the Democrats and the Republicans don't appeal to them. hmm So there's a reason why you hear me inject so much of myself into the show, into my content, where I talk about my life and the things that I'm into and why and shit, is because it should be appealing to individuals that might be thinking this kind of same thing I'm thinking, where I think MAGA kills the Republican Party. I feel like a lack of a strong conservative leaning party means we move into uniparty territory where the Democrats dominate politics. And the problem with a uniparty is that um, more of the same, right? So not so much like great change, but like more of the status quo, the grift, the tit for tat type shit, the infringing on either our rights or maybe starting a war, right? And instead, we need people that one of the things that have learned in my life over and over and over again. I had a coworker that was a Marine Corps sniper, and your boy struggled early at the new gig, and within a couple months was like crushing. And one day we were having a meeting, and my boss was asking why the turnaround. And before I could answer for myself, a fellow Marine unmuted himself and spoke up and said, because nobody rises to the occasion, you fall to your level of competency. So there's a reason that I think people that are union members, I'm a union member. I think union leadership would make great politicians, right? Because upon the theory that nobody's rising to the occasion, everybody's going to fall to their level of competency. If you're going to take a chance on someone and elect them to public office, does the knowledge that they were in a union affect whether or not you'd vote for them? And if they're pro union, because it does for me, because I know what a union means. A union means better pay and benefits for the people the union serves. The problem is that none of the people that are in the union are talking about the union. They're benefiting from the union. All the people that are anti-union, that can't stand unions or union talk, or people that were in fucking unions, are the people that aren't in unions. Every I'm one of those people where, Bob, I'll tell you, I never joined a union because I didn't have that kind of gig. I didn't work a job where like the union was the thing. In fact, it was the opposite. I live in an at-will employment state. My employer, even though they're headquartered in Texas and fucking California, they hired me knowing literally we could fire him at any time for anything and there's nothing he can do about it. They have a code of ethics at my employer that I looked at it. I've looked at it twice over the weekend. And I was like, "Oh, they can establish any set of rules they want and enforce them at will." That's what this says. So for the record, I tell my wife all the time, "Well, I didn't get fired today." And that's what it's like. That's what it's like when you do not have a union job. Is I am at the whim and mercy of my employer, and I have to make sure that I do so fucking good and I'm so above reproach that they could never even turn an eye toward me, a discerning eye. They no no no, he shows up fucking every day. It does really good. And like I said, my boss yesterday was like, "There's a reason that we don't talk, and it's because what the fuck am I gonna tell you? You're awesome. Like your numbers are incredible. Like right now you're like middle of the pack, but in the next 2 weeks, like you're gonna be top five. Like, hey, but I'm at the fucking mercy of my job too. Every day I gotta come in with my hair on fire, ready to kick ass and take names. Because if I'm not, if I have like off days and it throws my numbers, shit. God forbid they look at my fucking social media. Cinder said, "What job do you work?" So I work in finance. Mhm. I actually work for a company called Beyond Finance. Mhm. Yeah, there's a reason. I like pulled my vacation hours to make sure I was off for the next 4 days, as you don't know what's going to happen afterward, you know? Mhm. Cinder said I clean houses, no unit for me. Actually, you could join Working America. Okay. So there's a lot of people out there that think there's no union for me because of my vocation. That's actually not true. Join the same union as me. See you later, Vicky. Lots of people feel like they work jobs that aren't union supported, but that's the thing. That's the thing about a union. It doesn't have to be job specific. See, that was the mistake that I made, and I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make is they think like only pipe fitters, only plumbers and steel workers and trying to miners. Bob, help me out. Postal workers, teachers. You know what I'm saying? Like they have teachers unions, right? They have steelworkers unions. They have minor. I think the miners have a union. They're probably not union supported. That's probably why miners. I don't know, but what I'm saying is like there's plenty of people in vocations. My wife works for a bank in the offices, and they lean on her for everything. And every year they cut folks, and I can see the fear in her eyes. Straight bullshit. Yeah. So yeah, join a union. Join Work in America. Okay. Be pro union. Make it like a fucking personality trait. As I've said, union membership in the United States is on a decline, going on like 7 decades. They planned and coordinated this. They bought the players. The way you get back is through unions. Nothing. Just like it costs nothing to become a member of the American Socialist Party. Part of the reason that I'm not fundraising and all that shit is because that's not very socialist, right? And people keep asking me, what does it take to become a member of the American Socialist Party? Do you want to join? Cool, you're in. Great, great. Yeah, a little pressure. Give away too much personal information makes me scared for you. I'm also 6'4", 300 pounds, a black belt in Kempo, wrestled in high school, not afraid of someone with a gun. Oh, yeah. I worked armed and unarmed security for a decade with one arm after I came home from the Marine Corps and not only never had an issue, when I did, I was able to handle that. I carry that confidence, and it has very little to do with me serving. It has a whole lot to me do with my dad beating the shit out of me when I was a little kid, being very violent physically, psychologically, verbally. And so as a result, I'm perfectly comfortable telling people exactly where I'm going to be and exactly what I'm going to do. And double dog dare you. Show the fuck up with ill will. hmm Bring that the fuck around. See what happens. I am the least afraid. hmm I'm like the person that goes in the room and the whole room gets more confident because they're like, oh, he's here. Yeah, we're good. Look how big that motherfucker is. hmm hmm So it's hilarious. Like when I go for a job interview, I'm a football coach, right? And I go for a job interview, I look like I still play. You know what I'm saying? And I also like avoid places that I would have like a bad time too. And I also probably don't leave my house most of the time. Yeah, you can afford a union without dues. Now that said, we're all made of paper mache, and I understand the concern. I understand the concern. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's one of the very few times I feel cared for on this social media journey. So thanks, Haya. And that's the thing I've known. I've also also has slowed me down on pushing with the American Socialist Party is I'm not trying to turn myself into a target, right? So I don't want it to be seen as anything other like he did everything correct. He tried not to put a target on himself, and then the thing about it is it's paperwork. It's going to a bank. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not like it's stuff I can't do. You know, this weekend would be like a good time to do a lot of this. But again, I got to have $1,000 that I don't care if I lose it or not. And so I'm not asking other people for it. Hey, I need to raise money. No, I gotta come up with like $1,000. I don't give a fuck if I lose that or not. I don't know about you, that just does not happen. So, and the reason it's taking longer than I thought is taxes. So it's not that I'm not now making money. It's that now I'm making money, and when I get paid, I'm like, oh, shit. Half of my fucking money goes to taxes now because I get paid more. Yeah, not pushing a story. No, just trying to talk to you about the news, telling you about my life. And like I said, one of the things that drives me is I feel like this administration is targeting who I could have just become. And I say it like this. On January 17th, 2025, was the first of three crashes, SpaceX. And right away, this administration attacked the FAA, fired a bunch of people in the head of the FAA. It appears, for the record, nobody has asked me because, again, I'm not a pilot, right? I'm just a guy that was obsessed with that shit when I was young. I think that Elon Musk and his little Doge nerds have altered source code and it has affected aircraft, and that's why there are so many aircraft crashes where it doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, if their elevation was like 100 feet different than what their shit says, their telemetry data was all fucked up. That could cause airplanes to crash regularly. And so I, that was what I went to school for. When I graduated from high school, you know, I always tell people I didn't go to college to play sports. I got a 1510 out of the 1600 when I was 15 years old on 1999 on the SAT. So I was an academic. So when I went to Purdue and I was part of the flight program and I want to be like an astronaut, you're getting like a really serious fucking nod. For the first couple years, I was getting a really serious fucking nod. But I'm a big ass dude. And when you're just like a big old boy trying to fly stuff, shit flies funny when you're big. I'll just say it. Airplane flies funny. Lopsided. Because I'm just a big old dude, right? And that's mostly kidding. I just felt uncomfortable on an aircraft, right? You think your whole life you want to do something, you finally get there and you're like doing the damn thing and you're like in an airplane flying, looking around like, ha ha, it's awesome. Yeah, I don't want to do this. This sucks. I'm not a taxi driver. So, not to mention, the FAA went on a hiring freeze, which screwed up pilot jobs, it screwed up air traffic control jobs, and this was 20 years ago. So I never got a job in that industry. In fact, I left school, tried to work. I worked at a car dealership and I worked at a landscaping company. Um, I was working two rough gigs that didn't pay well because that's the kind of jobs you get when you don't have a degree. Okay. So I made it about 6 months in that climate before I was like lost 100 pounds in 90 days, joined the Marine Corps, went to the infantry, right, and left Indiana. And then one of the things, um, I've learned in my journey here is like my proximity to people of color doesn't make me not racist, right? But one of the things that I have to be very cognizant of is the very presence and prevalence of people of color within like people I'm very close to as far as familial, right? Like I have a black first cousin. Her name is Samantha. First cousin. I have one of my brother-in-law is black. His wife is black. They're gonna have a black, beautiful black baby, right? Um, these people are under attack by this administration. My beautiful actual black family, right? And for the record, I also have Latino family members, Latina family members. So, and as I've said before, you go back far enough, we're all related. So you could just expound on that if you want. We're all cousins. Yeah, I know you don't like it, but it's like pair the attack on the FAA and the vertical space, the flight space, um, then the attack on immigrants, right? Feels very targeted because I've had way more success in my life being friends with people that don't look like me, women, people of color, immigrants, right? These are my friends. So to see this administration target the FAA, then target people that don't look like me, it fucking burns me up, right? Obviously, the attack on veterans benefits, right? The attack on social safety nets, right? It puts a great deal of people in danger. It's because they've got marching orders from the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin. This is the plan to destabilize the West. See, one of the things that kind of goes lost, or kind of gets lost in all of this, is that in 2004, so about 20-ish years ago, Richard Spencer, who's like a prominent white supremacist, said that racism is Russia's key to the West. White supremacy the next year, and Richard Spencer, not the one that worked for Donald Trump. I looked it up. And then with the next year, another prominent white supremacist was like, white supremacy is Russia's key to the West. This is 20 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, it's one. It's the next grift from Elon. It's how he maintains control of contracts. hmm We got to get out of here. We could go all day. Here you go. A little bit of eat the bitch. So I appreciate y'all being here. By the way, just to make sure everybody loves Bob, okay? Loves on Bob. Bob sent me the first package I've ever gotten in the mail from someone that followed me, or like a subscriber, or somebody that like I hung out with regularly. Bob sent me it's a mini basketball. Actually, it's right here. How cool is this? Obviously, like the Pacers are having like a really good season right now, and basketball is my first love. It's not blown up yet, Bob. I actually I have a way to blow it up. I just haven't yet. But Bob sent me, it's a mini basketball. It's not blown up. I will blow it up, from the 1991 Final Four. So for most people, it's like nothing. It's like an uninflated basketball. It has Bobby written on it. You know what I mean? It's not actually worth anything, but it's novelty. It's almost 35 years old, so it's an antique. Um, but the fact that like somebody thought of me, and this is thoughtful. This is what thoughtful looks like, if you ever wondered. He could brush it off and say, "Oh, Jared, I was gonna throw it away," but it's silly. Um, because you can see because of the paint, it's like in really, really good condition. I mean, yes, it does say Bobby on that. That probably comes off. Okay. Yeah. Somebody gave me something. That's really cool, man. Again, it's not like he went out and bought something that he thought I would like. He like had it and was like, "This guy lives in Indianapolis, big basketball fan, like him." Bam. Okay. Hey, that's more than my parents have ever done in my entire life in terms of like being thoughtful and that like I was just thinking about you, thought you might like this and shit. Nobody has ever done that in my entire life, Bob. People are generally fucking thoughtless and they try to put as little effort as possible. And you leaked the other day of no reach. You. That's weird with my email address just chilling there. Bobby said it. Sorry. Bob said it has my $1 million 11-year-old signature on it. Well, actually, not in cursive. So, not a signature. Um, I'm just kidding. And I've been thinking about this to the surprise of absolutely no one. I think I'm gonna start streaming in my spare time, as little as I have, um, on Twitch probably. So again, the issue is that I don't know when to start streaming, right? And I'm like the game I'm playing, I'm like super far into. So you watch me play it and you can like ooh and ah, but like I didn't show you all the thousands of thousands of hours before that, right? So it's not I want to like start streaming and stream a new game, you know what I mean? Like speaking of which, I really want to play Final Fantasy. And I'm just saying it out loud. Anyway, have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Somebody said, "Is Twitch a good site?" What do you mean? I mean that there's the truth, and the truth is that it's owned by Amazon, and that there are no such thing as a good employer. If you're talking about like, yeah, Twitch.tv used to be called Justin TV. It was initially it was one guy. Yeah, it's not. It's awesome if you realize that Twitch has made it so people that didn't have the skills to work good paying jobs were able to turn their hobby into their job. That is not what I want, by the way. I do not want my hobby to be my job. Mm-mm, mm-mm, nope. Now, that said, you pay me enough money, I will fucking do my hobby for a living. You know what I mean? Like, fuck it. Everybody has a breaking point where you're like, you know what? I will sit here and bullshit about Path of Exile is the greatest video game of all time, next to Elden Ring. Like, there's two. Yep. Anyway, y'all have a fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow. You misspoke. What do you mean you misspoke? You didn't misspeak. Yeah, I have. I here. I'll share it. I have Twitch. I've streamed on Twitch for years. Again, Nobody gave a shit. I'm not the kind of person to douche stuff over and over and over again for nothing. To the surprise of no one, by the way. I'm likely alien there too. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. So there's my Twitch, and like I said, I like I stream sporadically, but what I'm cognizant of is the potentiality, the potential of growing organically. I just hate it's again, it's like another site, right? Um, I don't know. As somebody that has like a degree in social media, I'm just it's like what Hayas said. Um, you make yourself too like available, you give too much personal information, right? Like you expand into the gamer space, into the streaming space, you become a target. And again, it's not that I'm afraid, it's that I'm cognizant. I'm like aware that my actions have actual consequences. It's not all roses. Burp. It is what it is, right? It comes with the territory, right? Fortunately, though, um, things here and on TikTok have gone so off the rocker. Like you got to understand, as someone who never ever participated in popularity contests by choice, like I've said before, when I was in student council in high school, it wasn't by choice. Because again, I'm a firm believer in those who seek power are the people that should not have it. And look at the fuck where we are now, right? So